What's going on, guys? Matt here with Khaos Art. I'm here today to show you a quick tutorial on how to use the new blur tools that were implemented into Photoshop CS6. Let's go ahead and get started by opening up your Photoshop. Whether you are operating on Windows or Mac, it will be exactly the same. So once you have Photoshop open up a picture that you would like to do this to. And then after that, I already have my image opened up here. It is the picture of the side of a barn. It's a little bit overexposed. I could probably work on that, but I'm not really going to worry about it too much right now. So what I'm going to do is go up here to Filter when you have your layer selected, and then go to Blur. And you see there are three new options here. In CS 5.5 and previous, you had these options, but not these three. These three are very, very useful and very, very nice to use. I'm going to go ahead and start off at the bottom and show you the Tilt Shift Blur tool. And what this will do is open up a menu kind of like this, or exactly like this. And what it does is it gives you several options of what you can do to adjust your blur. So with the Tilt Shift Blur tool, you can actually tilt and shift your blur, but that's not exactly what I want to do. You can tilt it by grabbing that. But what I want to do is adjust where the blur starts and ends. So the way to do that would be to grab these dotted lines and move them in whichever way you would like. Above the dotted line on the top is where it's extremely blurry, and below it is where it's more clear. So I'm just going to bring mine a little bit closer. Same thing with the bottom. Below the dotted line on the bottom, it is blurry, and then above it, it is fading to blur. I'm just going to kind of shrink that one a little bit. So now you can see with the preview mode being on, the top blur, the bottom blur, and where it's clear. The clarity is between the two solid lines. You can adjust that by grabbing and clicking them and moving them up and down. I'm just going to adjust mine slightly. So now you can see there's clarity in the middle, starts to blur, really blurred, and repeat down here. So these are the basics to using these new blur tools of how these lines operate. But on top of that, I could grab this little circle in the middle and move this around to where I would like. This is a quick way to move it. But go ahead and put that back to where it was. And this white circle around it is the percentage of blur that you would like to use. So I could have 493 blur and it would look like that, which is horrible. But it would be useful for something. I'm going to bring mine down to about 17. And then I like how it looks. It's blurry down here, blurry up there. Really focuses in on the center of my image, which is what I'm trying to accomplish in this Photoshop. So I'm going to go up here and press OK. And it will open up a load screen. There it goes. So while this is loading, you should go ahead and subscribe, because that's what you need to do to help me help you make more tutorials. So now that it's done, you can see what we've accomplished. You can see that the center of the image is a lot more clear, and then towards the top and the bottom it is blurry, so it really focuses in on where you need to see on this image. So what I'm going to do next is just press Command Z and undo that to show you the other two tools. Make sure your layer is selected, go to Filter, Blur, and then Iris Blur. Iris Blur has the exact same components as the Tilt Shift Blur, but it is slightly different. The same components that are in here are the circle, where you can move it wherever you would like. So if I wanted to have this corner right here in clarity, I could do that. And you can also add or subtract blur with the white circle around, also the same concept. But something that's new are these white dots right here. We don't have any solid lines aside from this one, but that does something different. These dots right here adjust where your clarity is within the white dots, and then outside of the white dots is where it starts to be blurry, and then outside of this ring is extremely blurry. So with these white dots, you could bring them in closer and then have the blur starting very close and working its way out. Or you could expand them out to the very edge and have an extremely crisp blur where it is just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's very interesting just because it's very clear, and then it goes to very harsh blur, just kind of almost like a foggy window. It would be a really good effect for this. But with this, I'm going to bring these in kind of close. There we go. And then what this ring is outside of here is also where you can expand it and shrink it. And if you grab these little round, whenever your arrow is curved up here and towards the top, the little circles, you can shrink it on one side or expand it on one side. And you can do the same on these other sides. So I think I like that. I'm going to go ahead and go up here and press OK. And the same process will happen where it will load. When it finishes loading, you will see your finished product. Once again, you could have subscribed during that time. And this is also very good for this image. It does also bring the focus point to the center of the image like I was trying to do with the tilt shift blur. I prefer tilt shift blur for this particular image just because it's very horizontal, lots of horizontal lines. So it is very convenient because it kind of keeps the horizontal aspect of the image instead of having some sort of like fisheye and then using iris blur. That would be a better situation. So I'm going to go ahead and once again press Command Z to undo. And then go once up here to filter one last time. Go to blur. And last but not least is field blur. I have not used field blur too much on my Photoshop experience in CS6. But I do know of several situations where it would be useful, and I've attempted to use it, but I haven't really succeeded yet. This is definitely one of those that you want to play around with a little bit before you really try to do anything major. With this, it blurs everything, and you can adjust your blur over here in your little menu, or you can do it over here on the white circle like I've been doing. So with this, it blurs everything, but it is also very good for blurring a background or a back scenery for a particular image. So if you had a cityscape and you wanted it to be blurry, you could do a field blur and then have some sort of image in front of it, or just leave it like it is. This is very convenient, but I do not take much photography of cityscapes, so I could not really relate to that too well. But I'm sure there are a million options to use it, and it is very simple. You don't really have any sort of adjustments where you can choose to like resize it or keep clarity or anything. Just everything is blurred and it's very crisp and very clean. Just go ahead and press OK, and it'll blur everything. So while this is loading, I'm going to go ahead and say thanks for watching, guys, and please comment below and let me know what you think. That really helps me a lot whenever you comment. It helps me know what you think, what I did wrong, what I did right, and it just helps me improve my videos. So once again, thanks for watching, and thank you for your support.